So I think we're live. If we're not live, then this is Brandon and Arron just talking to one another. But if we are, hi everyone. This is the Grit Show, the Grit podcast from Gearist, and a little bit of a mea culpa, as I was just telling Arron. Over the past 4 years, I haven't really been around, and that's kind of my fault. Gearist has been doing a lot of updates and things like that, but relative to the video channel, to the podcast circuit, I haven't been around in years, but to the video channel, it's been a minute. And the real reason that is has to do with a car crash that I will kind of get into on the main kind of Gearist section, but I don't want to take away from this. The reason that we are here today, the reason that we are starting this particular podcast, this project, is because earlier this year, my friend Arron, who you can see too, as I look at it, my right, that guy right there, he called me up and he was like, or texted me, or I don't know how it happened, but anyway, this is Arron Garrett, and here's what's happening. He called me up and he's like, listen, I'm doing Leadville, August 20th, 2022. Do you want to crew for me? I live in Colorado. You know, everybody's familiar with the Leadville 100. If you're not familiar with it in the running sense, but only in the bicycle sense, it started as I believe it started as the run race, right? If you read Born to Run at all, that's literally where the book opens up. And so I said, hey, I need a reason to get back in shape. Let's do this now. So with that, we're going to talk here today about 30 minutes. The plan is to do this for 30 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour. As we kind of get rolling, as more and more people talk with us, we're going to bring in people that are like sports psychologists, people who've done Leadville before, anything you can imagine, nutritionists, whatever, product people, because we've got Hoka working with us on some of these things. Hoka One. If you're not familiar with them, check out Hoka 11 spelled out ONEONE.com. And if you're a runner at all, you've probably seen that before. But before I get into any of those things, let me say, Arron, hi, how are you?
I'm well.
Good.
Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing well. The reason that, we're calling this Grit, and Arron and I were going back and forth on what do we call it? Is it Weekend Warrior? Is it Dad Bod? Is it Midlife Crisis? And all these things kind of kept circling around. But I found it was like, well, we don't want to say Dad Bod and exclude all the ladies out there that lack the amazing Dad Bod that is happening over here. But it's really because, Arron is a dad of three kids under 10.
3 kids under 10, yes.
Boom. Lives in Virginia Beach, so lives at sea level. Has a full-time job. And all of these things require full-time dedication, right? And now somebody thought it would be a good idea to go run Leadville 100 at altitude. So anyway, Arron, how are you? Tell us about yourself. How did you get into endurance sports, generally speaking?
No, thanks, Brandon. Yeah, so for me, growing up in Virginia Beach, growing up as a beach kid, surfing, going to the beach every weekend was the way I grew up. Went through high school, college, got married, and when my wife got pregnant with our first child, our 9-year-old, it was for me a reason to get fit again. I played sports in high school, all through high school. And by the time my wife got pregnant, I was closer to 300 pounds than I was, closer to 250 pounds. And, being 6'5", I could hide that, but couldn't hide it very well. Mm-hmm. I looked at dads out there and I'm like, okay, I don't want to be the dad who can't get off the couch or won't get off the couch to go do whatever with his kids. So I said, okay, I'll start running because I live directly behind a park. Seems like the reasonable thing to do. One thing led to another. I got invited to a Ragnar trail race in West Virginia and kind of fell in love with the trails at that point. It was a situation where it was really wet. It was really cold. But you got to run in the trails. And one leg led into another leg and led into a few people not running very well. So they were like, do you want to run more? I'm like, okay, let's run more. Next thing you know, in 24 hours, I had run 30 miles. And I was like, this was great. I've never done something like this in my life. Let's try again. So I then signed up for my first half marathon, and then signed up for my first 50K, and then ran a marathon, and then 50 miles. A year later, I ran 100 miles, and I was like, okay, let's go. And now let's try something at 10,000 feet.
with don't forget all the climbing. 10,000 the altitude is like just one piece, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I'll say that, you know, some people who have known me for years, you guys know the reason that I started Gearist is because I like to do those things. I like to get outside and get after it. And a big part of that was finding myself looking too much like a stereotypical singer, because I used to be an opera singer back in the day. And I really wanted to get after it in all those different facets. And I mean, even this weekend, that's why, by the way, I look a little bit like Rudolph right now, apart from the fact that my nose is big, is that I was skiing yesterday and did not sunscreen up properly. But it's that you find yourself kind of at this make or break piece, I guess, of your life. And frankly, that's kind of why, like, midlife crisis, I steered away from that a little bit when we were talking about title. It's because it doesn't have to be that, right? And maybe we go through those things. I mean, since the last time I was really doing a lot of Gearist video updates, I've gotten divorced, I got remarried, I had a child. And so there are all these different things that come up. It doesn't matter where they come up, but it's how you approach it, how you really get past those things, instead of kind of leaning into being just a sack like we all, to some degree, I'm sure, did during the pandemic that we're just now coming out of. But so you did, when you were doing Bryce Marathon, the 100, right?
Yeah. Bryce Canyon.
Yep, Bryce Canyon. So that was probably the closest thing in terms of terrain, right, that you've done relative to Leadville. Is
that would be correct? So okay. Work has taken me out to Utah a handful of times, so I've been able to go up some of the bigger mountains out there. But in a race setting, yeah, Bryce Canyon is the closest thing I've ever gotten to elevation and climbing in the terrain that we'll see in Colorado.
And what's interesting is that you were talking about your first Ragnar there. And guys, if you're listening to this at all, whether it's listening or watching this, go to Ragnar, their website. Just Google or whatever search engine you're using, RAGNAR, and the relays, and you can actually go and do these things with a group of friends, and you don't have to be like super endurance athletes. And that's one of the appeals to it, is that it is a segmented relay that you take part in. But it seems like, I mean, because it's your first Ragnar, you're like, hey, I haven't been running for that long, but what the hell, I'll just take on another leg and another leg. So, I mean, it sounds like you're one of those people that, for better or for worse, just kind of has this ability to whether it's, again, the name of this podcast, right, whether it's grit or just kind of pure determination or sheer force of will. But there's got to be a physical element to you just going, sure, what the hell, I'll throw a 10-mile leg onto my legs, pardon the kind of double down on the word legs there. But I mean, is that the case? Has that always been the case for you?
So yes and no.
Okay.
Sports have always come naturally to me. I'm like the jack of all trades when it comes to sport. I can pick up any sport and essentially do it. Nice. I'm not particularly great at any of them, but I can participate at a comfortable level in any sport, whether it's running, soccer, basketball, golf, baseball, you name it. You put me on skates, I can skate. You put me on a wave, I can surf it. You put me on a mountain, I can go down it. I'm never great. I'll never be the first one across the finish line or be the MVP, but you know, I've got the hand-eye coordination and the physical ability gifted to me by whoever.
Okay.
To participate in essentially whatever I wanted to. For me, the running was a good way to get back into shape after, you know, kind of becoming an adult and just letting myself go physically. I've got that addictive personality, so I love to cook. That means I love to eat. And
there you go.
Next thing you know, you graduated high school at 185 pounds, and then handful of years later, 285 pounds. Walking up and down stairs became a headache. It became a backache. Everything became an ache.
I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's life, right? It's as we get older, things, life evolves, and that's the cool thing about, I think, endurance sports, and what we've come accustomed to doing is life never stops, right? It keeps going. Whatever it throws at you, it keeps going, and it's, for people like you and I, it's the ability to keep going back out there, go for that run, hop on the bike, jump in the pool, jump in the water, and just keep going. And I love that side of it. It gives me that ability to, okay, I need to clear my head. Let's go for a quick 5-miler. Work's been a pain today. I need to clear my head. I got into an argument, or I missed a deadline. I've got to burn some of this mental energy out. Let's go for a run.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said a second ago, and here in a minute, we're going to kind of address like what we're hoping to accomplish through this show, and that sort of thing, because I think it plays into part of what you just said. But one of the big things is that you're right. Life doesn't stop. I mean, we seem, many people, certainly not all, but have become accustomed to, oddly, to this, I feel bad, therefore everything should stop. And you're right. Life doesn't give a crap. It's kind of like nature. There's actually a great, I think there's an Instagram account. There's also a Reddit subreddit that's like Nature's Metal. And it's really, I mean, if you don't like gory stuff at all, because nature doesn't care. We look at the grizzly bear and we're like, oh, they're so cute. How could we, if one was attacking, I would just ball up and let it go away. No, dude, it's going to kill you. Nature doesn't give a crap.
No,
there's no emotion to it. And I'm not saying that we as humans, we can't have that emotion between one another, but like, you're right. Life goes on. And just because you have a crappy run, or like you said, you have a tough day at work, you miss a deadline, whatever it is. In my case, you miss a deal or whatever that is, you don't turn around. Everyone else is still going to work. The sun still rises. You have no choice. And especially if you have kids, because then you're not only kind of going to bat as you to get your own stuff done, but you've got, your case 3, in my case 2 little ones looking at you going, he's my hero. He's the guy that's got to get it done, whatever it is, whether it's taking out the trash or whatever, because they don't care either. Right. No. Nature is metal, dude. And I love that you said that, because it's like, you have to sometimes, we are allowed that pity party, I guess. But, some people lean into games, which do your thing. I'm not really a gamer, but other people lean into getting outside. And my wife, and it sounds like your wife as well, she knows, she's an Ironman herself, but she knows that, like, if I'm in that space, it's like, hey, is it okay with you if I go into the mountains? And we have a not quite 2-year-old. Is it okay if I go into the mountains for 4 hours or 5 hours, whatever it is? And she's like, absolutely, go do it, because I need it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, absolutely. And for my wife, it's more of, you need to go clear your head. How about you go for a run?
it's get the hell out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's it. Some days that's exactly it. It's hey man, like, pump the brakes, put on your shoes, get outside for 30 minutes. And absolutely. Every time I come back a happier dad, a happier husband, and a happier person. It's funny, a long time ago, when I first started this journey to endurance sports in the 100 miles, as I got wrapped up in the grind or the grit of running every day and going out there, with my personality, it became a situation where if I didn't go out, my attitude changed. And I became what they call, some people call a run hole. If I don't run, I become an asshole. And I've gotten better with that, as I've learned to balance the life, the work, the family, stuff outside of running, and then the running. So making sure that you've got all of those checks and balances, and understand that I can go for an hour today, but that means I may not get to do something else later.
Absolutely.
Or my kids have basketball practice and swim practice and Girl Scout meeting, and I got to make dinner for somebody at some point. So maybe I'm getting on the Peloton for 30 minutes after everyone goes to bed.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation is at this point, it's that work life run balance.
Yeah. So, what are you? I mean, you mentioned Peloton a second ago. What are you doing, or what do you plan to do to kind of balance out and a little bit of cross training? Is there strength training? Is there yoga? I mean, what are you planning on doing as you kind of lead into Leadville?
So the Peloton, I get on that every once in a while. I'm not the biggest fan of working out inside.
Same.
I don't prefer it. I'll do it when I have to. As the weather gets warmer, I live a stone's throw from the beach. So swimming, surfing, we belong to 2 different pools. So getting in the pool, trying to swim. I don't do the best with anything but running. So that is something I need to work on, especially for what's coming up in August with Leadville, is doing more than just running. For me,
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person, like, I'm going to run. Let's just go run. I'll run 7 days a week. I'll run 50, 70, however many miles in a week. I may not do much else.
Right.
I've converted my desk to a standing desk, so I'll stand more. I've put weights by my desk to try and pick them up and just do some curls and this and that. But I don't, and I need to, and hopefully over the next handful of months, as we walk through this journey, talking to you, talking to others to really understand, I mentally know the benefits to do everything else.
Yeah.
But I don't do them because I don't like to do it. So I don't, and I make that choice. But I think especially as viewership grows and our conversations become more, it'll hold me accountable.
Yeah.
To do more, which I don't think it could do anything but help. So,
yeah. For me, and this is harkening way back to like 2009 into 2010, was one of the best as an adult fitness years of my life. And the biggest thing that for me wasn't necessarily cross training, because I was training for an Ironman at the time. It was the recovery. And I remember very specifically, I think I told you this prior to recording this. I lived in New York at the time, and I think this is even, this is the same year that Gearist launched. It was pre-Gearist, actually. And I was training for a race, and I had a coach at the time, and he would put on my schedule, and it would say, okay, well, you're going to go do this run and this bike and this swim or whatever it is. And then he'd have like a run that it set, and it was all heart rate based training because, for those of you that probably know at this point, heart rate based training, or power based training, if you will, I mean, they're part and parcel one another in that they're static. So if your zone 2 caps out at 155 beats per minute or whatever it is, and probably a little lower than that, and that's your zone 2, it doesn't matter if you're in Virginia Beach on a flat, because Virginia Beach is basically pancake flat, or if you're here in Boulder County and you're running up Bear Peak, if your coach says zone 2, don't go beyond that, you don't go beyond that. And so I was in New York, and my coach was like, all right, well, this run needs to be embarrassingly slow. And I was like, so zone 2? He was like, well, listen, if you can get it below zone 2, that'd be great. And I went over, and there's this little dude who is literally the real meaning of the word literally, not the way that my daughter seems to use it for it. She's like, I literally lost my mind. And I'm like, but it's in your head. Anyway, so this dude, he's like a 60-year-old guy. No offense to all my 60-year-old boys and girls out there. He was wearing, dead serious, on the West Side Greenway, khakis, running shoes, and a polo shirt. Not sure what that getup was about, but he was barely running slower than I was, because I was going embarrassingly. It was truly embarrassing. And it was about the recovery, especially. So I'm 44, you're 30, 38.
38.
So when you get old, man, I mean, it's not that it breaks, but because there's an element of if you use it or lose it, right? There's an element of that motion is lotion, all these other cliches. but it's the recovery piece, and it's getting that sleep, and it's drinking enough water, God knows, and drinking or having enough protein and having enough carbohydrates, honestly, to fuel recovery and all these different things. And so hopefully we'll be able to get on some people that will be able to talk about that, some sports nutrition guys. And funny enough, when I moved into my house here, I think I may have told you this. This is 2019, and the one of our neighbors kind of over here, he goes, hey, he's talking to my daughter, because his daughter and my daughter are about a year apart, and so they kind of hit it off and we're playing, and he goes, hey, is your daughter Brandon from Gearist? And she was like, yeah, how'd you know? And it turns out he knows Gearist, which is weird, but what's awesome about that is that he is a psychologist that specializes in endurance sports and has actually done Leadville himself. So we hope to get him on as well, which would be awesome, because
That would be awesome. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure he would, if he climbed inside of my brain, he would be like, "You've got some work to do, bro."
So let me ask you this. So I'm from Hampton, Virginia. And I think that, well, let me say this before we get into that. We're going to talk here after I ask this question. We're going to talk about kind of what we hope to accomplish with the show, and again, what the different breakdowns that we're going to take. But thank you guys for being patient with my figuring out all the live streaming stuff and what have you, because I'm just kind of figuring it out. And by the way, thanks to Eric Hunley from Unstructured. And if you're on YouTube, search for Eric Hunley, Hunley, and check out his channel. It's fantastic. He's got a couple shows that are just amazing. But humidity. I grew up in Hampton, Virginia, which is about 30 minutes north of you. And I don't have to tell you, I will tell the broader you that the humidity, apart from being at sea level, like, people are like, man, I did 300 feet of climbing over the course of a 20-mile run today. And I'm like, great, I did that in 5 minutes. So, so there's the elevation aspect, but to me, what's almost, what might even be more concerning is not the right word, just but troublesome, is the humidity. Like here, we have no humidity. I mean, a humid day here is maybe 50%, where you're dealing with, we came to Virginia a few years ago. We get out of the airport. I look at before we get out of the airport, we landed in Norfolk. I look at or Norfolk, if you're from there. I look at my phone and it says 84 degrees. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. And then it was like real feel 112. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, so especially when you're traveling, and you step out of those, sliding glass doors at Norfolk Airport, it hits you like a ton of bricks.
Oh my God.
I mean, the air is thick. Like you chew on it. It's so humid. It's impressive. And then, in the summertime, 90-degree weather with an 85% humidity.
Yep.
Breathing's hard.
Very.
Sweating is normal.
Yep. 24 hours a day.
yeah. Well, that's it. Like your AC is pumping.
You get out of the shower, you dry off, and you're like, didn't I just dry off?
You go to the mail and you come back and you're like, all right, well, I'm sweating already.
I know.
But I mean, to your point, Colorado, Utah, I went to Utah and it was the driest I've ever been in my entire life. And it was the middle of this. I'm like, I can't sweat. What? Yeah. And it just evaporates off you. Where here it's, it's like a glass sweating, right?
Yeah.
It just pours right out of you.
Yep. So are you coming out here beforehand at any point to get in some altitude training? I know you're going to go to so for those of you that don't, pardon, I just asked you a question. Now I'm going to interrupt your answer. For those of you that don't know the geography of Virginia Beach, as the name would indicate, is in southeastern Virginia, like almost the most southeastern. It is the most southeastern city before the North Carolina state line. And if you go west a couple hundred miles and a little bit north, but primarily just west, Lynchburg, that whole area, Wise County, you do get into the Blue Ridge Mountains. Still, I think the highest Blue Ridge Mountain is what, 5,600 feet, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head.
So in Virginia, I think we get up to 4,600 feet, a whopping 4,600 feet. In North Carolina, I think it's up to maybe 6.
Okay.
In the Asheville area, and then you can go up to like upstate New York, Vermont, that area. You can get, I think you can get. I think it's like 6,200 feet is the highest on the East Coast.
Okay.
I'm lucky enough to where my in-laws moved out to just south of Lynchburg, Smith Mountain Lake out there. So we go there in the summertime. I'll go out there, run Smith Mountain a bunch of times. I'll get vert. I use that very, very lightly. As again, my training partner and I, we ran almost 20 miles yesterday.
Nice.
I just checked my phone, 337 feet. Wow. The whole run was in the park. It was all on trails. I think, out of that 337 feet, most of it was probably me lifting my arms up in the air.
Woohoo!
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
But yeah, so we'll go out to the mountains in Virginia, hit the Blue Ridge, hit the AT. I enjoy going out to the AT. We've got some good runs in the Crozet area. For those who don't know, like the Dave Horton races, out in the western part, like the Lynchburg area, there's a bunch of races out there. We do Mount Masochist every year. So there's a bunch of races in the mountains. So we can get, in 20 miles, we can get 5, 6, 7,000 feet. But it's a lot of up and down. It's not like going out to Utah or Colorado or California and starting at 5,000, 6,000 feet and going straight up for another couple thousand feet and coming back down. So luckily enough, I'm getting to go out to California next month for a family wedding. So hopefully get a chance to run out there. Hopefully I can get back out to the Utah area for work, maybe Colorado. So we'll see. Luckily enough, with my job, I get to travel here and there. I'll be going to Chicago, I know, a handful of times. While that is flat, it's a little higher than here. Not much, but so we'll see. I'm going to get out to the mountains as much as possible, especially in the summertime. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So, in kind of the last couple minutes here. So here's the idea, guys, is that, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to cover these different aspects of this. Now, I'm not the one running Leadville, so it primarily won't be about me, but I can assure you that, and again, I'll tell kind of my story in a separate thing. But I need to get back in shape to be able to do that. So there is an element of me kind of doing all of that as well. And that's also coming out of like a car crash and all that kind of stuff. So, but the primary thing is to focus on Arron. What is he doing? What he's experiencing? And like we were talking about, life goes on. So to the extent that Arron is comfortable, we will talk about kind of the highs and lows, all that kind of stuff, all the messy, sweaty, gross stuff, all of the things, and making sure that really he is I mean just doing what is right for him to kind of get to that finish line and get to the start line and then across the finish line. We're going to hope to bring in, again, as I mentioned, people who are specialists in nutrition, people who have run the race before, things like that. This is going to be a weekly show. Again, we're just kind of figuring this out. We're both dads. He's got 1/3 more children than I do. I think that's the way that works. And so there's an element of figuring that out. The idea at this point is that this show, so today is Monday, March 14th, 10:36 a.m. that we are recording this Colorado time, so 12:30 East Coast time. And the idea is that we will put this up onto YouTube, and then it will be also included on, we'll have it listed in podcast feeds and things like that. The podcast might take a bit longer because Gearist has an established YouTube channel. But you can subscribe to it on YouTube. You can subscribe to it in podcast feeds. We will get it up. I think what I'm aiming for is Wednesdays. So anybody that wants to kind of write in or say something, just let us know. info@gearist.com. You can @Gearist on Instagram. You can do the same thing. I think it's @the Gearist, because some like 14-year-old in Thailand owns Gearist on Twitter, oddly. Leave a comment in the comment section of the YouTube video, and tell people about it. Go ahead and subscribe to the Gearist YouTube channel. Arron, what are your socials? And if you have the ones that you want people to, if you want to keep it private, totally understood.
I mean, Instagram @Arron Garrett. It's first name, last name. That's usually where I am on most of my stuff. I don't know if I have a Twitter account. I have a Twitter account. I haven't checked it in probably 5 years. So
yeah.
If you find me on Twitter, ping me. Maybe I'll get an email.
Okay.
I don't do anything other stuff. I'm on Facebook, but I don't check it very often.
Sure.
So it's mainly Instagram, and then anything at the Gearist.
Okay. Yeah.
He's been gracious enough to give me a Gearist account. So
yeah, man.
Let's rock and roll. Let's push that through.
Absolutely.
Other than that, yeah, Instagram is the one I go to.
And if you guys do @me or what have you, we'll make sure that Arron gets it. And just so you guys know, if you are searching for him, it's 2 R's, not 2 A's.
Yeah.
So like Arron.
Yes.
Garrot.
Roll that very Welsh R.
That's right. Arron. It's a little bit. I feel like you have to have a 2-drink minimum to say that.
At least. Yeah. So a couple of bourbons and you get it real down.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, so again, please subscribe. Check out you're watching it now. If you're watching it, youtube.com/Gearist, give us a subscribe. Let us know what you think. If you hate it, maybe don't give us a review. Here's something. If people do have kind of ideas, if you have experience running Leadville, if you have experience with these other things, what did you learn? If you've done UTMB and you're like, hey, I did UTMB, it was a shit show, here's what I learned from it. We'd love to hear it. We want to be interactive. We want to talk. At some point, it'd be great if we could actually do live shows. We're kind of broadcasting this right now, but it's a private link, so no one's really watching, and no one knows about it. So there's that, because it's our first episode. But we might do that. That's kind of a scheduling challenge, because again, families, work, all that kind of stuff. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, guys.